I'm your host, Scary Pops, and everybody loves a good scare. So let's get into it. Berkshire County, Massachusetts, famous for its wide-open countryside, makes it a popular vacation destination. But the rural territory was once heralded as a hotbed of UFO activity, following the alleged sighting that took place on the evening of September 1st, 1969. The Berkshire UFO incident remains perhaps the most chilling tale of an alien abduction on record. According to witnesses, creepy stories of a disc-shaped craft was seen performing acrobatic maneuvers in the sky above the Berkshires at night. Some say they didn't just see the craft, but they were taken aboard. It's unclear exactly how long the phenomenon lasted, but many who claim to have witnessed the Berkshire UFO describe losing time, unable to account for an hour or so during the incident. Everything got really calm, said Thomas Reed, one of the most well-known witnesses of the 1969 Berkshire UFO phenomenon. It was like being in the middle of a hurricane. There was like a barometric change in pressure. It was dead silence. Then there was an eruption of crickets and frogs and got really loud, and that was it. It was estimated that at least 40 residents, including children who were now adults still living in the Berkshire area, that saw the alleged alien aircraft. Some of them reportedly called in to the local radio station to share the bizarre phenomenon that they had just seen. Listeners were calling into the radio station that evening, and at the time they didn't even know it was a UFO. They just would call the station and say that something bizarre has just happened. Now, the large number of simultaneous witness accounts during the UFO Berkshire incident made it a distinct case among alleged sightings in recent decades. The witness accounts were so plentiful and compelling that the Great Barrington Historical Society decided to officially recognize the incident as the first off-world UFO case in U.S. history, some 45 years after it happened. Following the recognition, the witnesses formed the nonprofit UFO Monument Park Incorporated to build a monument in the area, and the monument would be a landmark to honor the alleged UFO encounter that residents saw in 1969. Despite the significant eyewitness accounts of the event, some residents of the town have fought to keep scary stories of the alleged UFO incident under wraps. The monument was removed following contentious arguments between the group of witnesses that built the structure and local officials in 2019. Still, the eerie aftermath of the unexplained encounter stays with residents who bore witness that fateful night and who continue to share the creepy story to this day. Do you believe in UFOs? Have you seen one? Do you know someone that has? They're out there. I came home pretty late one night and my roommate's bedroom was shut. I assumed she was sleeping already, but I saw something out of the corner of my eye in the kitchen. I said her name, but she didn't answer. I didn't think anything of it, so I walked up to my room, and before I turned the light on, something whispered, "I'm still here." I turned on the light in my room, but nothing was there. And then I went and turned every light on in the house and knocked on my roommate's door. I eventually opened it, but she wasn't there. I decided to leave her light on too, and I went to sleep with all the lights on. When she came back the next morning, I asked her if she was messing with me, and she started crying and saying she left because something was in the house messing with her and she had to get out. My husband works 7 in the morning to 6 at night, and then sometimes he'll work offshore for about 14 days. While he was at work, his kids would stay with their grandmother, and we had a nice house, but it had a weird vibe. I chalked it up to pregnancy hormones. One day I was home alone and I was taking a shower. I felt someone staring at me. I would stick my head out and listen, but I couldn't hear anyone in the house, so I just resumed my shower. A while later, I heard the back door shut. I was standing in the kitchen and could see the door, which had no steps and was 4 feet from the ground. The door was still locked. I told my husband about it that night and he shrugged it off. We locked down and went to bed. I don't know how long I'd been asleep, but I woke up to the blankets being yanked off the bed and my husband flipping on every light in the house. He threw open every door, every cabinet. He looked in every pantry or closet while holding his handgun. I asked him, what's going on? And he swore he heard boots thumping through the house, someone talking. But everything was still locked and it's not a big house. Nobody was there except us. Or was there?
I was staying at a small 2-bedroom Airbnb during a vacation I took last year. This place was on the way to another Airbnb that I was going to stay at for the main portion of the vacation, but this was more of just a rest stop for the night. The place was clean and empty, just as expected when I arrived. I walked around the whole house to check it out before bringing in my luggage and sitting on the couch. It was probably 8 p.m. by this time of night. As I sat, dozing off a little, the doorbell ringing made me jolt awake. I looked over at the front door, confused and alarmed. I was a pretty small, young girl, so it's safe to say I'm often scared easily and don't like talking to strangers, especially at night when I'm alone. I got up and walked over to the door, hearing 2 men whispering to each other on the other side. The door didn't have a safety lock or anything, so I just kept the door shut and called out to them.
Hello? Hey, we're here for the Airbnb. Can you open the door?
A man called out. I loudly asked what they meant, not understanding what being here for the Airbnb was supposed to mean. He responded, saying that he had the place booked for the night. I knew there had to be some sort of mistake, so I told him, still yelling through the door, that I had it booked as well and that he needed to contact the owner. The man didn't seem happy about that, although if I were in his position, I'd be pretty upset too. I heard one pair of footsteps walk away from the door, while the other man asked again if I could open the door so that we could talk about it. I was about to give in, putting my hand on the doorknob, thinking that he seemed believable, but something came over me telling me to just play it safe. I said my husband would be down to figure it out in a few minutes. I didn't want them to think I was alone, so I was hoping that would catch him off guard if something was bad. The man didn't respond though. I waited for another minute because I didn't hear any footsteps leaving, but then I moved the short curtain to the side and looked out the small window. The man I'd seemingly been talking to was facing towards his car parked in the driveway, and past him was one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen. A group of maybe 5 people was standing further down the driveway, kind of hiding as if waiting for a signal. They all had some form of face coverings, and I couldn't see the other side of the door, but I assumed there were even more people over there. Knowing that this was very likely a gang due to the city I was staying in, I was completely horrified. I backed away from the door, fully panicked and trying not to hyperventilate. I then went to the bedroom to get my phone and call the police, and I could hear more footsteps all around the house. It was like I was surrounded by a pack of wolves who at any minute could crush the windows and break inside. I took my phone into the bathroom with me and called 911, trying to remain calm. The operator also told me to be quiet and stay calm, as they were sending a group my way and would be there in just a few minutes. I stayed on the line, still hearing footsteps walking around outside the place, until the horrible sound of wood bending and then snapping came from the front door. I was crying profusely now, trying to muffle my mouth with my hand. I listened as a whole group of people ran inside, opening doors and cabinets before one approached the bathroom door and tried the handle.
Here,
he yelled, then walked away. The group continued looting the house before sirens were heard in the distance and they began to scatter out of the place. They had all left by the time the police got inside, and all of my luggage was gone, and my car had its windows shattered and was looted as well. One of the officers sat with me to discuss some details, and he informed me that they've been having problems with large groups or gangs breaking into homes recently. They don't think the main goal is to hurt the residents at all, but rather to just rob them of everything. So that's likely why they left me alone in the bathroom, knowing I wasn't a threat. Whether their intentions were to harm me or not, it was still terrifying. I know it likely had little to do with me staying at the Airbnb that night, but it has still made me really anxious every single time I stay at an Airbnb now.